in earnest. We would start in earnest now. Okay, so I would want us to go back first to the corrections that we made during the past few weeks. We made three. Was it three? Two corrections. We made one correction before the past two, which is Brother Ibuku and Deaconess Toy. So we would just start with that correction. A lot of us have made serious inputs, and which we're grateful to them for those who have made their contributions. Most of you are on point when it comes to the corrections you have made and your observations and areas of improvement that you have made. I'm allowing Ola because I don't know if there's a difference in time where I am and where it is. I know where I am right now is 3 minutes past the normal time we're supposed to start. So I'm just giving him a grace period. That's why I allowed him right now. Ideally, you're not supposed to come late for such meetings. Okay, so that being said, I want to go straight to Brother Ibuku. Brother Ibuku, all what they have said concerning your presentation, your ministration on that Tuesday, they were all correct. One of the two things I would point out, you had a lot of presence. You were present in your presentation. You did extremely well in terms of the presence, being present, being there. You did very well with that. You also did well in your delivery in terms of having to speak from within your heart is good. There's nothing wrong going back to Deaconess Toyin also and to other people. There's nothing wrong in going back to your notes once in a while. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. So you can actually go back to your notes, pick your points, then move on, because you already have internalized, you have already gotten used to that point. So once you just pick the point, you just read the point, you are able to expatiate and deliver the point. So there's nothing wrong with going back to your points, your notes rather. Another thing, you were finding it a bit difficult staying away from the pulpit, as in trying to touch the pulpit. You will probably realize, oh, I shouldn't be leaning on you will remove your hand. You were going back and forth with that. Then one thing I noted also, I said to us, and this applies to everybody that I'm going to critique this day, it applies to you. I said to you, always prepare a message with the most intelligent person or the highest person in mind. Is your message going to come across rather to that person as being very insightful, being so deep? You should have that person at the back of your mind when you are preparing your message. Although you should have everybody at the back of your mind, but when you are preparing a message or a presentation, you should also look at how to, especially for preaching and teaching, you should look at how to bring out newness, freshness, new revelation, new things, a perspective from where people haven't looked at it before. And one way to prepare a message or prepare a teaching is to always have various perspectives to the message. For instance, if you look at the story we're reading currently in Exodus, you will look at it from at least 3 different levels or 3 different points. From the point of God, when God looks at a situation, look at it from the eye of God. When you are looking at a topic or looking at a thing, always look at it from God's perspective. Okay, what is in the mind of God? It makes you to begin to dig deep, to search. What is God thinking? What was God thinking rather when this was happening? What were his thoughts? You begin to get assumption rather. You begin to get assumption from the thoughts or the mind of God, or the eye of God's mind. You begin to get assumptions from there that, okay, maybe God was thinking in this direction. And as you begin to think like that, many ideas, you begin to gain some kind of insight into that topic. So one point is, look at whatever you are teaching, whatever you are bringing out to people, look at it from God's point of view. For instance, the Toyin talked about, why are you complaining? Why are people murmuring? So you will look at it that, okay, what was the mind of God? What was God thinking about these people as they are complaining? What were his thoughts, concerning this complaint, this murmuring? If you look at it, you can begin to draw inference, begin to infer things from that perspective. That's one. Then another perspective is, for instance, God was talking to Moses. The other person, what is the other person thinking about? What was his or her thoughts? What were the thoughts that they had? So you have to look at it from the other person's perspective. What were they thinking? In the instance of the Israelites, Moses, God, you can even infer and draw assumption from 4 dimensions, 4 perspectives. Look at Pharaoh, for instance. Pharaoh, what were his thoughts in the instance when that thing was happening? So if you begin to think, okay, Pharaoh would have been thinking when God spoke to Moses, told Moses, go and meet Pharaoh, talk to Pharaoh, tell him this. When Pharaoh came, this happened, the children of Israel. So you have at least 4 participants, 4 players there. They would be thinking differently. They had everybody, as we're here now, 9 of us or so, as we're here, or the number of people listening right now. As you are listening, everybody has a different perspective. So if you begin to think from the other person's perspective, you can draw a lot of assumptions from different angles. Pharaoh, for instance, what were his thoughts? He would have been thinking based on his experience as the king, as the ruler, the ultimate ruler of Egypt, the one who people worshipped as God. He would have been thinking from that perspective based on his experience. Then look at the Israelites. The Israelites as a whole would have been thinking from their experience of slavery, experience of affliction. So their mentality at that moment, you can begin to imagine that if you were going through this, that's why I sent you that video that told you to always do things with a why in mind. Look at when the man changed the story and said, you know what, sing this song, this Amazing Grace that you're singing. Sing it from the point that you just had an experience. Your brother just got released or something like that. The experience, the emotion will change. So every time you present, every time you preach, every time you try to teach also, look at it from different perspectives. It will give you varied interpretation. It will give you a lot of insight into what people are likely to be thinking. It will just help you gain a lot of insight into different perspective of thoughts. So that's it for that's not particularly it for Brother Ibukun. Brother Ibukun also needed to have studied more. From my own point of view, because I don't want to say I've read a lot, I've read a bit, So as I was listening to him, I was trying to also be blessed. I was trying to be blessed, because if you try to present to someone who is always studying, who is always reading, it will be so difficult to reach out to that person. As you were teaching, I was thinking about the different types of, you talked about knowledge. I was thinking of my mind was just going wide. I was wild rather. I was going wild. I was thinking wide and going wild about the topic, knowledge. I was thinking, oh, talking about knowledge. You can look at it from different perspectives. What are the sources of knowledge? What type of knowledge do we have? Types of knowledge, kinds of knowledge, sources of knowledge. Then you can now narrow it down to what you are talking about. You first of all give us a broad insight or a broad view of the topic knowledge. But you were so, to me, generally, you did very well. I will not take it from you. You did very well, generally, being your first time and all that. But as a student in this group, I think you could have done better. You could have done a lot of research, a lot of studies. You could have done a lot of studies to find out about knowledge. You want to talk about knowledge. I was just thinking really, there are perspective knowledge. There's different types of knowledge. I'm sure you don't know all these things. There are different types of knowledge. There are at least 7 types of knowledge. So you could have gone deep into it, then make us to know that you will make people hungry. By the time you finish teaching, most times people they want you to continue talking, because as you are speaking, you are answering so many questions. Sometimes when you have really studied, you will find out that you won't have a lot of questions from people, because as you are speaking, you are answering questions. People are raising up questions in their mind. As you are speaking, you are answering the questions. You are just opening up so many things to them because of your wealth of knowledge, because of your wealth of study, of knowledge that you have, So that basically is for Brother Ibukun. And generally speaking, because this also was a topic that Joy was trying to defend the choir. Not everybody can sing. Brother Ibukun, when you were taking the service that day, I thought about it. When the Kenestoyan was taking it, when Sister Titi was trying to, not everybody can sing. So if you know that, like the Kifemi, everybody wants to try to be like pastor and try to sing. Music is my background. So if you can't sing, suggest the song to the choir and leave it to the choir. Brother Ibukun, you tried a lot. You were trying to go into the spirit. And for those of us who are literate musically, once you begin to make a blunder, it doesn't cover the anointing. No. I mean, it doesn't. If the Bible says sing skillfully, play skillfully. So when it comes to singing, you can do your singing alone. That one, when you are singing alone, is a different ball game. But when you are playing with instruments, singing with instruments and singing with backup, people who are backing you up, is a whole different ball game. It exposes your I don't want to say ignoramus. I want to use a better word. It exposes how unlearned musically you are. And it's for people who are musically literate, it's a put off. It's a put off, because when you are singing in another key and they are playing on another key, it happened that day for Brother Ibukun. It happens to you. They were singing and you were singing off. And this is just being honest with you. If you want to sing alone, it's absolutely different from when they are backing you up. When the instruments begin to back you up, you will realize that you can sing off, which happened that day. The same thing applies to other people who cannot sing. You probably do not know timing. When you come to timing, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all this timing, you may not know them. So you don't even know the first thing about music. It kills the spirit, it kills the anointing when you try to do it. So what is my advice to you if you so much love to sing or to use music? First of all, on your own, begin to learn, begin to do it on your own, begin to do it on your own. I see that Deacon Olu sometimes comes to rehearse with the keyboard player. Oh, play this song for me. I want to sing. He's getting better compared to when he started. So you can actually practice, train on your own, so that when you come out, you can sing with the choir. Deacon Chukwuemeka was practicing on his own. So over time, he comes out, he comes on stage and he sings. A lot of you will think, oh, this man bubbling the money, bubbling. He's been doing it behind the scene. So that's an advice to all of us who love to sing, who want to sing before you take a song, before you take your sermon or take your presentation. It's important to learn behind the scene. So when you come on stage, you will not fumble or make a blunder of the things. The thing you have prepared. So that's by the wayside. So Brother Ebukun, you did very well. If I were to give you a mark, I will give you 30 over 100. You have a long way to go. Sister Titi, your opening prayer, you tried, but the presence is not there. The presence is not there at all. You need to be more stable. You need to put in yourself. I told us that there are 4 types of people, type A, type B, divided into introvert and extrovert. You need to, at a moment, let your voice place yourself. Forget who you were. Let the Spirit of God take charge at that moment and begin to do what you need to do. I need to be fast about this so we can go to our topic for today. Then, Ola, what they said about you, reading and being sure of the announcement is important. Announcement is not for you to show how it's for you to pass a message across. If you are unable to pass the message accurately, it becomes distorted. It becomes you have lost your essence, the essence of why you are presenting or passing the announcement. So it's important to be articulate. It's important to be firm. It's important to stand. Like somebody talked about moving all around. That's for Deaconess Sister Titi. Ola, station and be focused and deliver you did well, but you could have done better. Then Deaconess Toyin, all the points noted so that I don't repeat them, they are all correct. Go back to the chart, look at them, they are very, very correct. If you come to the stage and you begin to rely on the audience, which is something I saw that you didn't do well. But at the beginning, Deaconess Toyin, I must be frank with you. As you came up, the first 5 minutes, you caught my attention. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I was now waiting for you to take me in, to engage me, take me in. Your beginning was very beautiful, was very, very attractive, engaging. Then after a while, you now started losing me. And I'm sure you lost a lot of your audience in your presentation, but your beginning was really, really good, really, really good. I was very proud at that first 5 or 7 minutes thereabouts. Then afterwards, I'm like, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So if I were to score you, I will give you 15 over 100. You have so much more to do, so much more to do. You have the confidence. Your voice is strong. Your voice is strong, but your content is not there. Your ability to deliver well, you have it, but sometimes you are not sure of yourself. Is telling on your presentation, but I see it in you that you have it. You can do it. You can deliver excellently. Don't ask your audience, oh, okay, so where is it? It just shows that you don't have a grip of what you're doing. You don't really know exactly what you're doing. If you want to present, ensure that you've done your studies. I don't want to overemphasize this. Ensure you've done your studies properly so that when you present, it becomes something that is heavy, something that is attractive. Somebody also mentioned, which I must mention for all who present, at the end of your presentation, what's your aim? Your conclusion is important. Your conclusion should re-emphasize, as in re-echo your central point, your central message. So your conclusion should be able to push people to action. Your conclusion should be able to push people to do something, to take action. So that is very important. Sister Titi, Sister Lara, I'm going to score you 10 over 100. Deaconess Tony, for your presentation, 15 over 100. Brother Ibukun, 30 over 100. So we have a long way to go. This next Tuesday, one of you or three of you also will take the segment. We will also review you and review what you are going to bring to the table. It's important to come with content. In all of this, overall, please ask for the presence of God, the Spirit of God, to breathe life to what you are saying. Because it's not about clapping for you. It's not about so much going through all of these things without presence, without spirit, rather, without the Spirit of God. So it's important for you to have the Spirit of God in charge of every presentation. See, I sometimes go back to City of David. I remember a few times, then when I go to visit City of David, they will ask me, oh, take this segment. You are going to say this prayer. You're going to take this announcement. Then you're going to take the closing prayer. I went for a wedding and they said, oh, you will take the closing prayer. We finished. I climbed up. I just took the closing prayer. I got down from the stage and I know the number of people that came to me that the presence of God was so mighty that, sir, you just went for 5 minutes and we can see the difference. That is the Spirit of God in whatever you do. We need to be fast. Anyway, so that's basically it. From next Tuesday, we will take on other people and help them. Today, we will try as much as possible to do self-government. Self-government. That book I gave you is by Miles Monroe. That book is, I've not read it. It's my first time of seeing the book because I've been looking for what book can I give you to read about self-government. And self-government that we're talking about, Proverbs 30 verse 20, Proverbs 30 verse 27, Proverbs 30 verse 27. Let me see. 30 verse 27. It talks about the locusts. It said the locusts have no king, yet they go forth, all of them, by bands. What that means, the locust is a family, is an army that God uses. You know what the locust is? Grasshopper, those tropical grasshopper. There are some, like ants that migrate like swarms. If you read the book of Exodus, God used them. God said in Joel also, my great army called the locusts. So the locust is that those insects, I think they are insects, they go onto trees. Nobody tells them, do this, do that. They know, they go in flight. They are always in flight. And God uses them and is telling us to go and learn from the locusts. It's telling us that these locusts, when they want to eat, they don't bump into themselves. They go in swarm. They just go like in flight. All of them, they go and they know where to perch. And God is telling us, go and learn from them. These people, they have no king. They know how to control themselves, to govern themselves. It's telling us, go and learn from them. The locusts have no king, yet they go forth, all of them, by bands. I'm going to go straight to the book. It tells us, before going to the book, sometimes your lust, your desire can blind you. Do you know that? And when you talk about desire, you are talking about yourself inside of you. So your lust can take hold of you. We're talking of self-government today. And I'm looking at it, that what are the levels of leadership? What are the ways we can lead ourselves? Miles Monroe, in his book, talked about that the most valuable component of leadership is not so much about the power you have. It's not so much about the position. It's not so much about influencing people. It's not so much about fame, not about talent. It's not about gifting. It's not about how dynamic you speak, an orator you are, not how persuasive you are, not how you have intellectual supremacy or superiority, not all of your academic achievement or management skills. All of those things becomes babadash without character. So self-development, self-government we're talking about is talking about character building, self-development, self-regulation. Miles Monroe said, character is the cradle of credibility for a good leader. Everything becomes rubbish without self-government. When you talk about self-government, you are talking about not depending on so many people, not depending on anything, but depending on yourself, building yourself to a point where you don't depend on so many other people or depend on other things. Every leader should have gotten to a safe place where their character has been developed. Their life, their private life is not different from their public life. Like I would normally say those times when we pray, that don't become a private failure and a public success. What that means is that the most defining moments of a man's life are moments when nobody's watching you. Self-development, character, self-government I keep saying self-development. It is basically about the qualities that will make you a true leader. What you possess, the things you possess, the moral force that you possess that will help you become all that God has created you to be. If you are deficient in character, you will not last as a leader. We will go a bit deep into this self-government we're talking about. The ability to regulate yourself is what we're talking about. The ability to regulate your emotions, the ability to regulate your mind, regulate yourself. Today we talk about government. We talk about government. People in government, you will see them, those who don't have self-government, you will see them, they will begin to display it. It doesn't hide. It's like smoke. Smoke cannot hide. It will pass somewhere and come out. And you will feel the stench of the smoke. Smoke, your character is like smoke. You will feel it. You might conceal it, you might bottle it, but somehow it will find a way to show itself. It might take you several years. Sadly for us in the house of God, we've had cases where I have trusted some people, got them ordained as pastors in our midst, and apparently they had some kind of deficiency in their character. If you don't deal with certain issues, personal issues, while you are on your own, it will disgrace you in public. God will destroy you at the mountaintop. What are these things we're talking about? The Bible talks about the lusts of the flesh, the pride of life, and what's the third one again? The lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. So these are the things that you need to look inward. Your emotions are there for you to control, to regulate, to help you become a better person. If you are not able to do all of these things, you will realize that when you get angry, you scatter things. The Bible talks about a controlled temper. Someone who is able to control his temper is mightier than the person with the sword, with the missile, with the gun. If you are able to self-regulate yourself, self-regulate, you are mightier, you are wiser than the person who is unable to control his emotions and all that. The most important quality of a true leader, that person must possess what is called moral force. moral force that will enable him have notable and stable character. Our scripture today is 1 Timothy 3, verse 1 to 7. That's what we're looking at. But I want to ask you to please read that book and finish it. I will ask a few of us to give our points that we've gotten from the book later on, but I just want to create this background for us. Christianity is useless. And for me, I'm still trying to battle with all these things that God, if I'm unable to conquer myself, I'm useless. If I'm not able to regulate myself, control myself when it comes to emotion in terms of anger, hate, love, lust, so many emotions. If I'm unable to control that, if you read the book, the man was talking about several leaders who were very powerful, but because of deficiency in character, they couldn't sustain that office. You've heard of scandals. These are not just mere scandals. These are things that actually happened. He talked about Monica Lewinsky, Bill Gates. You heard about it. Even in House of God, you heard about the scandal, not scandal, the reality that happened, that the pastor that I ordained as a pastor who is married, has been married for 17 years, went out. Apparently, he's been under me. I just didn't see it until recently that God opened my eyes. He's been going out to sleep with somebody else, and he's been married for 17 years and has another child, another wife outside, a pastor. Today, these things are real. These things happen. And if we begin to condone these things, we will not move forward. For some people, because of your own deficiency in character, you might say, oh, no man, every man is man. You will just begin to pet sin. If you don't say it as it is and begin to caution yourself and say, let him that thinks he stands take heed. That's what you are doing, is you are looking at yourself introspectively, and you are looking at yourself and telling yourself, see, you better be careful. You better take care of yourself. There are so many things. People have different vices in their lives that they can work on, that they can begin to work on and begin to help themselves to become good people, begin to help themselves to become good leaders. It's not just enough to have a position. Position doesn't make you a leader. It's actually character that makes you a leader. A good leader, as a matter of fact, is character that makes you a good leader. I'm going to go straight into the Bible now. And 1 Timothy 3, 1 to 7. The saying is trustworthy. The saying is trustworthy. If any man aspires to be a leader, or aspires to become to be the overseer, or the office of overseer, that person desires a good and a noble task. Is a noble office that a person desires. If you desire to become an overseer, or to occupy the office of an overseer, you desire a good thing. However, an overseer must be above reproach. If you want to become an overseer, you must be above reproach. As an overseer, there are certain things that are laid down. The husband of one wife, the wife of one husband. Why are they talking about all these things? Reproach. Whatever brings reproach is character flaw that will bring reproach. Character flaw, he went straight to the issue of husband and wife, the issue of man and woman, which basically deals with sexual purity. It talks about the issue of man and woman. Issue of man and woman can bring reproach, can pull a man down. There are a lot of people who are Christians who don't even think about character building or helping themselves, self-regulation. They don't think about it. It's said to you, one of the things to do is that you must be above reproach. Anything that will bring reproach, you must begin to self-regulate so that those things will not happen. If you know that you have a weakness in one area, the Holy Spirit is there. There are people who are there to help you, accountability partner that can help you go through the process. Whatever it is, do not hide it. Anything that you bring to the light definitely cannot stand. That thing will be destroyed. The light will melt it away. So if you begin to hide your sin, it's just a matter of time. This person I talked about for several years, almost 10 years or 11 years, has hidden the sin. You pretend to be who you are not. You have one issue and you are keeping it. I remember times when I will come on the altar and I would say, I used to masturbate. It's not for if you like, think less of me. I'm fighting my own battle. I'm trying to sort out myself spiritually. I was head of the choir. I was a minister in City of David, and I was masturbating. I needed to ask myself, see, if you don't deal with this thing, it's going to deal with you. If you don't deal with it in secret, it will deal with you in public. That's what happens. That's what happens when you talk about leadership. It's not about aspiring for the position. It's much more than that. And I'm going to go back later to tell you some levels of leadership where you need to start from. So therefore, an overseer, by the way, so therefore is wrong English. Therefore, an overseer must be above reproach. The husband of one wife, the wife of one husband. Please stay muted. Everybody, please stay muted. The husband of one wife, the wife of one husband. Sober-minded. When they talk about sober-minded, what is it trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you that your thoughts should be moderate. You should not be extravagant. It's trying to tell you that at all times, sometimes excitement can lead you to sin. When you get too excited, you must be sober-minded. A leader must be sober-minded. You must be reflective as a leader. Part of ways of self-regulation, self-government, is to begin to govern your emotions, to begin to regulate your emotion. Don't be too excited. When you are too excited, there's a tendency for you to stray. Don't be too loose. When you are too loose, there's a tendency for you to stray. Sober-minded at all times. Your mind is reflective. Your mind is alert that you are thinking in the right way. Because when you get too low in your thoughts, it can lead to depression. It can lead to some kind of you feeling suicidal. So you must have balance in your mind. Now, it also talks about self-control. Self-control is what we're talking about now, which is self-government. Self-control, the ability to control your emotions, the ability to control yourself, your actions. You should learn to take control of your actions. Take responsibility, ownership, extreme ownership of your choices. I will get there. Respectful. A leader is not that arrogant. Pride is part of your emotion. I hope you know. Pride. I've talked about pride a bit last Sunday. But pride is something I need to deal with, because sometimes you can have spiritual pride. You are proud spiritually. You feel that you are up there. Somebody is preaching. You are thinking, oh, I can preach better. That's emotion that you are not dealing with. That thing will send you to destruction. Pride goes before a fall. So respectful, hospitable, able to teach, not a drunkard. Drunkard is part of the issues that we have. Some people like vices or weaknesses that we have. Some people are drunkards. Some people are womanizer, or people who flirt. For women, a lot of women, married, unmarried, they flirt a lot. And it's a sin. It's a sin of the mind, but you cannot see it. People cannot see it rather, but you yourself, you know exactly what you're doing. Flirtation, drunkards, people who lust, especially men who look at other women, trying to look at their shape, look at their boobs, look at their bum, just trying to look at, for some married men, they begin to look at other women's breasts and begin to say, oh, this breast is actually different from my, begin to lust. These are practical things that we need to deal with. If you don't deal with yourself while in the secret, God will deal with you at the mountaintop. not violent. Those who beat their wives, those who are violent, those who are aggressive. I'm talking of aggression in terms of, it's okay to be aggressive when you are dealing with the devil, dealing with certain spiritual matters. But I'm talking of man to man, man to woman. Aggression is not part of leadership. Your brain should work faster than your muzzle. Your brain should actually do the work rather than your physical strength. Not violent, but gentle. Not quarrelsome is part of the vices. Some things are better left instead of being quarrelsome. Not a lover of money, but a lover of God. There are so many issues. They are telling you now to be a leader. That person must learn to manage his household. The first one is the first level of self-government, of leadership. The first level of leadership is the level, so I'm just putting it all together, the level where you are able to manage yourself, manage your time, manage your emotions, manage your weaknesses, manage money, manage the things that you like, manage the things that you dislike, manage so many things around you. So that's the first level. If you are not unable to manage yourself, you cannot manage the next level, which is where we are on chapter 3, verse 4. It says, must be able to manage his household well, which is the second level of management. God, first of all, expects you to look at yourself. If you cannot discipline yourself, self-regulate, wake up when you are supposed to wake up, exercise when you are supposed to exercise, eat when you are supposed. If you are a glutton, you are actually self-destruct. If you cannot control your appetite, control your anger, regulate all these things, you are actually on the verge of destruction. So that's the first level of leadership or self-government, is the ability to manage your own self, manage your emotions. Then the second level is from verse 4. He must manage his household, your family members. You know, if you are unable to manage yourself, you will pass it on to your children. A father that smokes probably will be smoking in front of the son, and will be telling the son, do you know this thing is bad? Don't do it. Don't do it. Your example as a human being is the best example you can ever give anybody. It's the best advice, rather, you can ever give anybody. It's not the words of mouth. It's the action that matters. So if you are unable to manage your own self, the second level, which is when you get married, you will not be able to manage your household, which is the second level of management. He must manage his household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive and keeping his whole family under wraps. A husband, for instance, is meant to be the house band, the band that holds the house. Supposed to be the leader. But I found out that there are some women that have also assumed the position of leadership. There's nothing wrong with it. When two people start dating, the first thing is that one person will rise up to assume leadership. It doesn't matter whether it's a woman or a man. Most times, two people who are dating find it difficult because they have strong personality. Two different personalities, strong ones, that the woman wants to become the leader, the man too wants to, they will have problem. So the next level, which is the ability to manage your household, your home with dignity, is important. That also, next level, is the ability to manage your friends and small group. Is still the same within that next level of leadership, next level of self-regulation, next level of self-government, the ability to manage friendship with people, manage the small group that you are in as a leader. So if you have this self-control, it will help you with the next level. Now, verse 5, for if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he be able to manage or care for God's house? That is a higher level. That is the third level, which has to do with the church, has to do with community. For instance, as soon as I moved in, it was just 2 months when I moved into my neighborhood. I started putting in my best. I started because a lion cannot be in a place and the place doesn't know. When I roar like this, it must go through the ends of the earth. I was there just 2 months. I started fixing, started doing. Said to me that please, they want me to be the chairman of the association there. And I said, I have a lot of things to do. I can't be the chairperson. They now made me the assistant chairperson of my community where I stay. So the next level, which is the third level, is the ability to manage church. You cannot be a leader if you have not been able to manage yourself well, if you have not been able to manage your family. For instance, you and your wife, you will quarrel, you will beat your wife, then you will come to church and come and preach or come and pretend as if that should never happen. I'm saying this is life. I've said this in church before. I have never, this is 1994, 95 till now. This is 26 or 27 years. My wife and I, we've never quarreled. I have never raised my voice to say, what's wrong with, I've never, to the glory of God. Have we had misunderstanding that I will face this side, she will face the other side? Yes. But for us to quarrel, to raise our voices, to exchange words, I have never. This is 26 or 27 years together. So if you are unable to manage your house, your wife, your children, and you come to the next level that you want to manage church, you want to take leadership in communities, you are deceiving yourself. You will be a total failure. So because what I'm trying to tell you is that the ability to be successful in private will translate into public success. But you cannot be a private failure and become a public success. Is not possible. Praise the Lord. So let me go back to that scripture now. I would give you time to talk. For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he manage the church? He must not be a recent convert, which means that a recent convert is like a newborn child. A newborn cannot be handed over a responsibility that is so high. He may become puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders so that he may not fall into disgrace. If you begin to take on responsibilities that you've not been able to, take on outside responsibilities, meanwhile you've not regulated yourself, you may become a disgrace, a public disgrace in trying to take on public responsibility. So today, let me see. So the first one rather is to lead yourself. Do not be a private failure and a public success. The second one, sorry. Babe, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back. So sorry about that. The second one is private leadership, which has to do with leading with it. The first one is leading yourself. Second one is private leadership, which means, oh my God, let me pause this. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, I'm really sorry about that interruption. So the first one is private. Leading yourself, lead your life, lead yourself. The second one is private leadership, which has to do with leading your family, leading friends, leading a small group. So the ability to manage a small responsibility as small as your family, as small as your friendship, as small as a group in church. Okay, then there's something I think I'm missing. I'm missing out. I'm trying to get that stuff. I put down something here, for every choice, every decision you make as a leader, you are given the responsibility of making choice. So self-regulation, self-government requires you to make choices. The other one also, it requires you to take responsibility for your extreme responsibility, ownership for the actions you take, the consequences of the actions you take, because it is yours. It is yours. The book is so loaded. I've just read a few pages. I've not even read up to chapter 2. I'm still on chapter 1. So it's so loaded, and I want us to all finish the book. So let me allow you to take a minute each, or a minute or two each, to talk. I will start with Sister Titi. Take a minute to just recap what you have read. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Pastor. The book is talking about the leadership. Leadership is everything. That's for your purpose, for your vision and your purpose to be established. You have to have character, and you have to have character, purpose and value, potentials and your ability, your value, ethics, your principles, and the direction to go in life. It's all boiled down to your character. He talked about the Ponzi scheme, the man that they jailed, and nobody even comes forward to say something good about him. That means he has a character flaw. Even his children, at the end of their life, they had to curse their father. So the book is talking about.
Thank you, Sister Titi. Thank you so much. Thank you. Deaconess Tony, over to you. Okay. Sister Lara, over to you.
So, from the aspect I've read, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So, from the aspect I've read, I want to talk about the values about leadership we have accepted. Now, we consider certain things before accepting or choosing leaders. In some cases, what we have accepted is we don't consider character, but one, we choose to value talent over character. We choose to value repetitions over character, and we choose to value position over character. Now, if you want to talk about the talent type, we place some people because of the talents they have. Most of our leaders, we respect them for their talent, not for the character embedded in them or the character they portray. And as the pastor has spoken about our private life and our public life, now some people have two sets of life. In the private, we are something else. When we get to the public place, we present ourselves as angels. People tend to see us in different ways other than the way we truly are. But we cannot deceive ourselves if we try to deceive other people.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Sister Lara. Thank you so much. Joy, you said you have a question. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. The question is actually from the first Timothy chapter 3 that you read from. You talked about when a person shouldn't be given a leadership position in church when a person is unable to lead his own home. And I see a lot of that happening in church where people are not able to handle their family, but they are given leadership roles to play in church. Now, I want to ask, where you've given some persons leadership role to play in church, and something happens when the person is unable to hold his family together, and family becomes apart, or something just happens that he's no longer in charge of the family. How do the church handle that? How do we even know that such thing has happened? The person can handle his family, but he's leading in church.
Okay,
That's
thank you so much. We have cases like that in church. I remember there was one time one of the ministers was beating the wife. That minister was suspended. Now, the pastor is not a spirit. The pastor doesn't have full knowledge of what happens in your homes, except when the Spirit of God reveals to me that this is what is happening. And I've had cases like that. I saw one of the ministers beating the wife in a revelation, and they came in the morning, and I called the minister. I saw you beating your wife in the midnight. And he was very angry with the wife that you went to report me to pastor. Meanwhile, it was God that showed me. So such cases happen, and such cases where the man or the woman is not able to take care of the family, but the pastor is not aware, the church is not aware. The church keeps fielding them to take segments in church, and unknown to the pastor, this person hasn't been doing well at home. There's nothing the church can do except the church knows. And when the church knows and the church doesn't do anything about it, it becomes bad. Joy, I hope you understand me. For instance, I found out that
Yes,
this
sir.
pastor has been sleeping out, sleeping with prostitutes, sleeping and went to marry another woman, abandoning 17 years of marriage. When I found out by the revelation of God and by some revelation from people, the pastor was suspended and the pastor left the church. So once the church is aware, the church should take action. If the church is not aware, and people are aware, people will think that the church is aware. So in such cases, if you know you're not reporting anybody, ensure that you can even do an anonymous letter to the pastor. I would even advise you to go personally, because your person will be protected, your identity will be protected, and it will help the church to make decisions. Thank you. So let me ask Ola to talk 1 minute. You have to be fast.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so one thing I also learned about leadership is leadership starts from oneself, that everyone's a leader. So start from self-regulation and how you lead yourself. And to lead yourself, you have to actually have a character. So aside from the skills and the gifts, and also at having the vision and purpose for your life, it also means that you have character, because number one, character is easily kept than being recovered. That is how people view you, is how people see you, is how well they can trust you, is how well they can follow you. So if you portray the wrong character, people may doubt your level of leadership, and they may not be able to follow you. That at the point you haven't changed it, they may find it hard to believe and still follow your lead. And also, one of the things I also learned about it is about choosing those you look up to, because what you actually expose yourself to has a way of influencing the character you have. So if you're someone that wants to build the right character, you must expose yourself to the right leaders that and also another thing, so you're building a good character. It also has a great impact influencing other people in building for, because as a leader.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I might not be able to take everyone, except we want us to continue. Leadership doesn't just start when you have followers. It starts when you start governing yourself. Proverbs 25, verse 28. He that hath rule over his own body, his own life, his own spirit, is like a city. He that has no rule over his own body, his own life, his own spirit, is like a city that is broken down without walls. If you cannot rule, govern yourself, you are like a city that is full of disgrace, full of rubbish, You have no walls. Training in the principle of character. If you read further, you will get to the point where it will talk about principles and talk about people who don't have values, who don't stand for something, will fall for everything. If you don't stand for something, if you don't have value, that you know what. There's one point he talked about that there's this saying that every man has a price. What is your price that will make you compromise? How much? What is your price that will make you compromise? If you place values, standard, principles above every other thing, you will excel, you will succeed. But if you don't place value, if you place other things, that means if you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. Now, failure in character will be failure in life. Eventually, you might be succeeding with talent, with some kind of skills that you have, but or position that they've put you, you will become a total failure, a complete failure in life. So failure in character is absolutely tantamount to failure in life. So the ability to assume extreme ownership of your choices. You make choices, full responsibility for the choices. You become the owner of your choice. Become the owner of the choices you make. You make decisions. You feel the consequence. You are the one that will bear the consequence of your decision. You accept your personal responsibility for your action, which is number 2. For the actions that you take, every action you take, the consequence is your own personal responsibility. You cannot blame anyone. You cannot blame anyone else for the outcome of your actions. So you fully take responsibility for the outcome of your life, because your life is in your hand. People might tell you that, oh, God has your life. No, God has given you free will, has given you the ability to make choices, to take actions, or to become inactive, which means that inaction, if you don't take action, is action you are taking. If you sit down not taking action, you are actually taking action. So the consequence of inaction is upon you. So number 3, which is the last point here, is to adopt values, adopt principles to guide your life. You have to determine your values. You have to determine the principles. You have to stand for something that will govern your life. The quality of life you live is determined based on the values that you place. The quality you lead, that's what others will see. The quality of life you lead is what others will see. Others would want to replicate or follow. And like I said at the beginning, that people just see, oh, I have a congregation of 1,000 people. I have 1,000 followers. I have 10,000 followers. It does not make you a leader. So leadership doesn't start when you have followers. It actually starts when you are able to govern yourself. So all of these things we're talking about, when they give you a task, you don't do it. It's action you are taking. As inactive as it is, it's actually action you are taking. So self-regulation, self-government is important. I would encourage us to quickly finish this book and move on. Let me take Sister Motunrayo very quickly.
Good evening, Pastor. Good evening, everyone. Well, about leadership, as Pastor have said, the book is really loaded. It's talking about character. As a leader, how is your character in your environment, your character towards people that you said you're governing? Do you have their good at heart? Do you really have them in mind? Do you really want to work for them, or you want to work for yourself? Because as a leader, we must not manipulate people. We must always be there to inspire them. As a leader, we must not use our power over people that at least I'm their leader, I can do whatever I want to do. No, we must be able to empower them. And as a leader, we must be able to control others. It's not about controlling others, it's about serving them. This is what we face in our country today. In fact, everywhere. Our leaders, all they want to do is control, not serving us. And all these are bad characters of a leader. As a leader, you must have a good character, because at the end of the day, it's your character that will keep you up there. It's your character that will speak for you wherever you go to. It's your
Okay,
character
Brother
that people.
Ibuku, thank you so much. Brother Ibuku, just take 1 minute very quickly.
Pastor, good evening. Good evening, the remnant. Okay, there's no much to say, Pastor, because the book is self-explanatory. Character is the hallmark of every leadership. You know, we have various people in various positions. Looking for leaders is not scarce. But what is scarce is the leadership in the leader. And that is what the major problem the whole entire world is facing today. Who is our leader? Who are you? Yourself, you ask yourself, who are you? Do you have the necessary ingredient, the necessary elements to be on that seat? That's what matters. Thank you, the moral force.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Aniagboso, over to you, 1 minute.
Good evening, Pastor. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
What really struck me in the book, it's speaking to me personally, because we have all said before, leadership is not when you have people to lead, but developing oneself. So like I look at myself as key, because one of the reasons why Miles Monroe wrote this, he says it's for people who don't yet understand that they are leaders. So I'm looking at it from that point. And it says that the trinity of leadership success is purpose, potential, and principles. When we talk about character, really, character is actually your values, your ethics, your the things that you stand for. When people in your community say, I can't do this in front of this woman, no, she will not like it. I can't say this in front of this person. They know you already, that you have some values that you protect jealously. And he actually says that character is like a protection system. It's like when you put your protective gadgets in the house. When you have character, it protects you. People are not able to come to you with certain offers because they know that you will not accept them. So it's like a protective system. That is what I got from there. And it helps your leadership. It gives it longevity. You can stay up in that leadership position.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
you. Sister Joy Ogbo, over to you.
Okay, good evening once again, everyone. Okay, from the book, he actually gave definition of what a character is. Character is a unique, is a distinctive nature of something. From my own definition, is something that is known about someone, is what a person is known for, is an in-depth trait of a person, what the person does on a regular basis, what's an inherent character, an inherent thoughts in a person's life. And he went on to say that character is the most powerful force. Character can do. There are so many there are so many things that makes up one's character. It's either you can get it from the environment where you grew up. It could be an inborn thing, and character protects a leader's inner life. Character does a lot. There are so many other ingredients in character.
Okay, thank you so much. I think everybody has spoken. If you haven't spoken, you can unmute and speak if you haven't spoken, but I think everybody has spoken. I want to urge you to please read the book. And as you read the book, please don't just read for reading's sake. Let's take lessons from it. Take lessons. Your character should be rooted in God, which he talked about, the source of moral leadership, source of your character, the belief system, the conviction, values from God. I know a lot of us look at Jesus and we're like, oh, awesome leader, awesome savior. But Jesus said, you should be like me. You should be like me. A lot of things trigger anger. A lot of things. Okay, one of the things you guys posted on the platform, that Deaconess Tony put that Pastor used to complain a lot. Did it offend me? No way. God bears me witness. It didn't offend me because I understand exactly what she was talking about. She was talking about, oh, Pastor has actually improved, that he's not complaining. And I looked at myself. The reason I'm complaining, is it for myself? No. I'm complaining about the workers. Do what you need to do. You guys always come late. It's for your good. I've decided that, okay, don't come and kill yourself complaining about these Israelites. Just leave them. Whatever they want to do, let them do. So I didn't get offended. So looking at Jesus, everybody must look at Jesus as the yardstick for your life. Dr. Anyogbosu, you got offended by what this person said. Sometimes we can eat insult. We can swallow insult, because if they slapped you like they slapped Jesus Christ, spat at you, and he's the God, the owner of life, if they dealt with him and they begin to deal with you the way and your ego is not showing, it just shows that you've started regulating yourself. You've started dying to yourself. That's what it tells me. So more like we should all, including myself, the things that will get me upset, begin to learn from Jesus Christ. What would Jesus do? The things that will attract me, because everybody you have something that will attract you. The devil knows your mumu button, as it were. He knows what to press. He knows what you like. He knows your flavor. He knows the kind of girl that will put in front of you, and the lust inside of you will begin to come out. He knows the kind of man, tall, dark, and handsome, with money that he will show you, and he will make to favor you, that will make you fall. He knows your price, as a matter of fact. So when we get to that point where we begin to say, God, I want to release myself. Take me. Let me not go ahead of myself. Let me go with your flow. Help me. I want to be like you. Help me to die to self. Help me. I know I have emotions. Sometimes I'm angry. I hate. I love. I lost. All these things, help me to be able to regulate them, because it will come to a point in your life where you'll be tested. Your wife will not be there. Your husband will not be there. Nobody will be there. You'll be tempted. One of my friends, they brought when he assumed office, they brought Ghana Must Go cash, 50 million. That time, several years, he assumed office. They brought Ghana Must Go. Everybody has a price, but the price you should have is the price of principle. It's the price of morals. It's the price of value in God. That's the conclusion for this evening. Please, as we go ahead, let's try to self-regulate, govern ourselves, and God will help us in Jesus' mighty name. Deaconess Tony, please say the closing prayer for us. Or does anybody have any question or comment before we round off? In the absence of question or comment, Deaconess Tony would round off for us.
Eternal Rock of Ages, we thank you, Lord. We give you all the glory and honor and adoration. We thank you, Lord, for this beautiful section and time to